Preview. The 17 best apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic movies you must see. Actually, a lot of them it already ended a long time ago. What comes after the end can be vastly different, but it's always interesting to watch. These movies cover every stage of the apocalypse, from the decline to the end itself and beyond. The Road 2009 in both the book and the movie, the cause of the apocalypse, and the road isn't clear, but however it happened, the humans that are left to roam the earth are having a very bad time. The film follows a man and his son as they steadily make their way to the sea. It can be a tough watch, but the book is even more brutal, especially considering the scene that was too extreme for the final cut. Children of Men 2006. Plenty of apocalypse movies have a meteor hitting the earth, nukes going off, or artificial intelligence throwing a tantrum. Children of Men envision a world where women lose the ability to give birth. It's an interesting idea that Alfonso Cuarón turns into a uniquely dark yet hopeful movie. 28 Days Later 2002 and 28 Weeks Later 2007. 28 Days Later pretty much single-handedly revitalized the zombie genre after the era of George Romero's Living Dead movies. Both Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead and Edgar Wright's Shaun of the Dead came out just 2 years later, and the director of 28 Days Later, Danny Boyle, doesn't even consider it a zombie movie. I Am Legend 2007, the movie with the best boy in any post-apocalyptic world. Sam is a dog you want when things go south. A Quiet Place 2018 and A Quiet Place Part 2 2020. These movies are great, but if the world has to end, I really hope this isn't the reality we get. Zombieland 2009 and Zombieland Double Tap 2019. Zombie movies came back into style with 2002's 28 Days Later, but the hype was just starting to get serious around the time of Zombieland's release. A zombie outbreak would be awful, but Zombieland reminds us that it's not the worst apocalypse scenario that could happen as long as there's Twinkies. Living Dead franchise 1968 to 2009, the film that started it all. Night of the Living Dead essentially created a zombie and birthed an entire subgenre of horror that has become a staple in pop culture. There's a lot of movies with Living Dead in the title, but when I say the Living Dead franchise, I'm specifically talking about George Romero's movies. Night of the Living Dead 1968, Dawn of the Dead 1978, Day of the Dead 1985, Land of the Dead 2005, Diary of the Dead 2007, Survival of the Dead 2009. Planet of the Apes franchise 1968 to 2017. The first entry is an end of the world movie that you don't know is an end of the world movie until the end of the movie. The rest of them are also great, and the most recent trilogy has been one of the best reboots of an old franchise ever. WALL-E 2008. This is literally an end-of-the-world flick because it's the Earth that ends, not humanity. WALL-E sadly is probably the most realistic apocalypse movie, but it's also one of the most hopeful. Mad Max franchise 1979 to 2015. George Miller's franchise starts with society teetering on the edge of destruction. In fact, the first Mad Max isn't post-apocalyptic or even really apocalyptic. Throughout the franchise, humanity gets further and further away from sanity, but luckily, so do the set pieces. Shaun of the Dead 2004. After the success of the sitcom Space, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg turned to the big screen in a movie that launched both of their mainstream careers. Shaun of the Dead takes place right at the start of a zombie outbreak, and it's still one of the funniest and most creative horror movies ever. Snowpiercer 2013. After the planet becomes uninhabitable, the last of humankind rides endlessly on a train circling the planet. The rich are at the front, and the star working class huddles in the tail cars. It's bleak, depressing, and involves cannibalism. In other words, it's a great apocalypse movie. The Hunger Games franchise 2012 to 2015. Like WALL-E, The Hunger Games does an uncomfortably good job of predicting how the end of the world would actually go. The difference is that The Hunger Games is far closer to the current state of the world. In WALL-E, we abandon the Earth when we can't be bothered to fix it. In The Hunger Games, they distract themselves with entertainment that comes at the cost of others' suffering. The Day After Tomorrow 2004, one of the defining disaster movies. The Day After Tomorrow shows the Earth falling apart after years of global warming. It was directed by a man who specialized in end-of-the-world movies, Roland Emmerich. Emmerich also directed 2012, Independence Day, and Moonfall. The Matrix franchise 1999 to 2021. After humanity is defeated by AI, we are inserted into a computer program to be used as batteries for the machines. A revolutionary movie that had people talking about everything from CGI to philosophy. The Matrix makes the end of the world feel like just the beginning. Interstellar 2014. Interstellar focuses on what could be the second to last generation of humanity, slowly running out of options on a dying Earth unless radical steps are taken. Things start out pretty grim, but Interstellar focuses on the idea that the children-like passion humans are capable of is what will save the world. As the main character says, we used to look up at the sky and wonder about our place in the stars. Now we just look down and worry about our place in the dirt. Blade Runner 1982 and Blade Runner 2049-2017. Not much is mentioned about nuclear war in the movie Blade Runner, as for good reason. The book it was based on, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sleep, has a lot to do with real versus fake animals, since most of the real ones were killed by the nukes. The movie isn't a concern with the animal subplot, so talk about nukes would have just been distracting. But still, it's canon that the world of Blade Runner is set in a post-nuclear war world. Both the original and the 2017 sequel are as stunning to look at as they are deeply moving stories about what is real and what is important to us, and whether they are always the same things.